Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. Oh, we are in for a treat today, and I cannot wait to introduce you to my new friend. But before we get into all of that, follow the podcast. I know you're getting tired of me saying it. That means that you're not doing it yet. I need you to do it. It just makes a big difference. So I want to introduce you to my new friend, Bose Akadiri. Bose is so many fantastic things, like a motivational speaker, an author, a trainer, a joy creator. She's also a yogi. She is a dog lover. She's an international traveler who goes to Thailand every year. She is a very into holistic wellness, and she's a runner who actually genuinely finds joy in running. And today she's our guest on Productive Joy. Welcome, Bose.
Oh my goodness, Chrissy, thank you so much for having me. That was such a beautiful intro. You have me over here blushing and also just excited for building the life that I love. So thank you for the reminder.
Well, and that's 100% what you have done. And it is such a fun story that I have gotten to be privy to. But I would love for you to start with that. How did you create a life you love?
So for me, and I have to back up and say, I just love that both of us are all about joy. Right? When I started on this journey talking about joy, I thought, is anybody interested in hearing about joy? And so when I find people like you and become friends with people like you, it's very exciting because I feel like together we're building the business case for joy. So back to your question. On how did I start this journey? It was really something that started when I was a kid because my mom was so just very, very, very intentional about making sure that I had joy, right? And making sure that I had kind of like a protected joy. And so I grew up very much knowing two things. A, that I deserved joy and that I could have whatever I want. She was very much the mother that never asked me, why do you want to do that? She always asked me how. Yeah. Now, as an adult who's taken coaching courses and I don't do coaching anymore, I know, but it was great to learn that perspective. But also working in corporate America, I came to realize my mom is the ultimate coach. And she coached me to understand A, keep your joy, and B, you can do whatever. You just have to get creative about how you're going to do it. So the long and the short of it is it started with her, and then I just really took it. You give me an inch, I'm going to take a mile. And I just started to understand what brought me joy, and specifically thinking about it in the 4 key areas of life. So personal, professional, health, and financial. And what ended up happening is I'm from Oklahoma, and I loved my life there, but it wasn't quite right. Whenever something, it's like, oh, these shoes are just a little too snug. They're not quite the right fit. That's what it felt like in my adult life there. And I thought to myself, I want to move. I wanted to have more of my joy. And like you said, I go to Thailand every year. That could have never happened while I was living in Oklahoma because it's so expensive to travel from there. I really thought about the specific things that brought me joy and then what type of city I needed to be in to attain more of it. And then I also thought about what type of job I wanted to have more joy. So I was really taking like a 360 look at my life and saying, how am I going to do this? So Chicago was great. I don't like driving. So when I left Oklahoma, I left the car. Now I have an international airport. And I can fly anywhere, almost anywhere in the world direct or just one hop in a different airport. And so it just really changed everything for me. It also made me realize that from a financial standpoint, even though everything online would say that Chicago is more expensive, it's actually on par for how I live because I don't have the car, so I can spend a little bit more in rent. And then because I'm no longer having to pay for what it costs to travel from Oklahoma to do the type of travel that I want, we're saving. So when I started to look at my life the way I wanted it and what brought me specifically joy, I could understand how my finances could also align with that.
That is
It's a long story, but
It's a great story. And I really want to hone in on your mom for a second and talk about how she never said, why would you want to do that? She said, how? And so you then took that lesson and brought it directly into, okay, how do I get out of Oklahoma and into a city that I could travel internationally from? And so you clearly lived out what you were taught, and now you're teaching other people to do that, which is pretty cool. And you have a book that's going to come out soon that's going to help people do that too, right? So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, which it's so wild to me. Like this book, what I realize now, I've been writing it for 5 years.
Mhm.
I just didn't know it.
Yep.
And I have a lot of fun in the journey. So the book is called Stay Joyful, and it's all about starting, sustaining, and spreading joy in your 4 key areas of life. And that reminder that we deserve joy. You know, it was wild to me. I did a keynote last year and I was talking about joy, of course. And I decided that I wanted to do what's called a pair and share because I wanted to hear from the audience what brought them joy. And so I said, okay, turn to your neighbor, tell them what brings you joy. They talked for a couple minutes and I said, now, who wants to be a brave soul? Raise their hand and tell us what brings you joy. And one of the first women said she wasn't sure.
Wow.
Right. And I'm sure you encounter this too, but no one had asked her about her joy.
Mhm.
It took everything inside of me not to cry on that stage because to me, it's really heartbreaking that we're growing up and we're not acknowledging our own joy.
Mhm. We're not to know how to find it, right? And so let's camp out on that for a second because I think it happens a lot that people, well, my whole productive joy concept is that work and joy don't need to be, or work and fun don't need to be mutually exclusive, right? Those can happen together. But the reason it's productive joy and not make work fun is because I think that this happens in life and at work. And it doesn't need to be, put into a box. So I opened the box. But in this case, this person had not been taught that joy is something that she deserved, right? Or that she couldn't, like your mom. She didn't have your mom in her life saying joy is something you deserve and something that you should seek. So what do you think gets in people's way? What do you find is preventing people from knowing what their joy is or where to find it?
That's a great question. I think it's the shoulds.
Mm.
I think too often we allow others to should on our life.
Yep. Or we should on our own lives. We do that too.
We And, it starts at a young age. And I once had a client tell me that from a young age, your life is kind of like planned for you, right? You go to your school. When you're in high school, they're like, okay, where are you going to go to college? You get to college, all of a sudden it's like, you must know what you're doing for the rest of your life, for your career. And then it's like, meet somebody, get married, have some kids. And then all of a sudden, this whole, life road, you're like, I've arrived. Where have I arrived?
Yeah. Do I even like it here?
Right. And so one of my clients said, that's where I come in because I teach people how to start with their joy and build the life they want
Yeah.
rather than, okay, all of these predetermined destinations. And it's okay if you hit the predetermined destination, but it's also okay if you didn't.
Yeah.
It's okay to step back and reevaluate. So to me, those shoulds come with the predetermined destinations.
Mhm.
That's why people aren't talking about their joy. I'm not going to go on this, but I also think social media does a lot.
Oh, amen.
Hey. So, I'm very guarded about what I look at on social media, and I'm also very careful about what I put out. I do not use AI to touch up my face.
Mhm.
Not you.
You're way
It's
too cute for that. Why would you bother?
Well, thank you. And I honestly take a lot of pride when I see people in person. They're like, "You're exactly like you are online." And I'm like, it used to catch me off guard, but now I understand not everybody is.
No.
I literally don't even have time to be someone else. I'm having a whole lot of fun being me.
Well, and that's what's beautiful about you, Bossy, is you've embraced you, right? And again, I attribute that started with your mom, but then you took it and ran with it. Like you could have been taught that. Like I feel like I taught my kids a lot of things that they haven't ran with yet. Maybe they will one day. They're 24 and they're figuring themselves out and they're amazing humans. And there are things that I know I told them that they haven't fully heard yet. But you heard it from your mom and you said, okay, I'm going to go forward with this. I'm going to make really amazing things happen. So that's my first kudos to you. I have lots of kudos for you. But the second one is that you recognized that other people might be struggling with these same things. And you said, you know what, I'm going to give you a guide to make sure that you don't hit those same obstacles and you can get past them. And that's really what your company does too, right?
Yes.
So tell us about Goal and Grind.
Okay, so at Goal and Grind, I believe, well, it all starts with me, right? And I'm excited because things are growing in a way that it's not about me. It's about others learning to claim their joy in those four key areas: personal, professional, health, financial. And so I do corporate training workshops and I love them because essentially what I'm doing is teaching people how to leverage joy for their goal setting, for their networking, and for their leadership style. So my main, oh, here it is right here. I'm like, let me just grab it. It's under a pile of papers. But my main workbook, the vision and goals method, the first thing in here is what I call the joy bubble, right? And what the joy bubble is it's your foundation because it's not just enough to, okay, I found my joy. This is a lifelong journey of really understanding how to sustain it, which is what I talk about in the book. And so when you have your joy bubble, and anyone out there listening, you can create yours right now. You don't need my workbook to do it. I'm happy to do it with you. If your company wants me to come in and start with that, we can. But every listener can do this right now. Take out a piece of paper, you draw a circle on it, and in that circle, write down everything that brings you joy.
Mm.
And you want to do this maybe after you've meditated or, when you're in a good space, maybe after you've had your favorite meal, maybe after you've done a yoga class, something that relaxes your mind. Maybe you just got a pedicure, but you want to do your joy bubble, not when you've just been doom scrolling on the internet for an hour and you're thinking about everybody else's joy. Because this is not about worldly expectations, it's about your inner joy.
Mhm.
The reason the joy bubble is so important is because on those hard days when you're like, what is joy? I've had them. I know you have too.
Oh, absolutely.
We all have them. But on those days, you need something to draw from. And so, circling back, if you're already prepared and you have your joy bubble, you can open it up and you can say, you know what? I'm going to go for a run. That's not what everybody's going to do. That's what I'm going to do, though. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to get some fresh air. Even living in Chicago, I still run when it's 20 degrees outside.
Wow, well done.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I don't run at sub-zero, but I've got my running gear for like 20 and 10. But I say that to say, I know that will rejuvenate me and kind of shock me back to where I need to be with my joy.
Yeah.
So you have to start with knowing it.
Well, and that's the key. Like this lady that said to you, I don't know what brings me joy. You are helping push people to think about, okay, because we say, I want to be successful. Okay, but define success because I might think it's successful that I have a house that's this size or that a picket fence or 2.2 kids or whatever it is. And you might think it's successful to be able to travel to Thailand at least once a year, right? Like we all have a different definition of success. I don't have 2.2 kids, by the way. I have two and then a married one, so three. But I don't know how anybody has 2.2 kids. My point is definitions matter. What does it mean to be joyful? What does it mean? What's inside your joy bubble? So I have to ask you my favorite question, which I know you've put your whole life into thinking about. And that is, if you had to define productive joy, how would you define it?
So on the productive side, to me, it's about taking that foundation and expanding on it. So one of the other steps in the workshop is breaking out your goals, long-term, medium, and short-term in the four key areas. So rather than just saying, this is what brings me joy, or rather than like using a vision board and saying, okay, I've taken all these external markers, put them on a board, and I'm going to try to hit these big, huge, attainable things. No, because then you feel overwhelmed. So to me, I like to set people up that I work with for success rather than, feeling imposter syndrome, et cetera, et cetera. So the productive part to me comes in when I call it your life strategy. Like if you know what brings you joy, you could build a life strategy that aligns with what you want to do. So that productivity part comes in when you start saying, okay, in 10 years, I want this professionally. And then in order to get there, at the halfway mark, at 5 years, I want this. And then in 1 year, this is what I'm going to do. And so that's one of the exact pieces of the methodology that I develop that I teach during my corporate workshops. And it unlocks so much because you're sitting there in a group saying, I want to be here, but nobody's breaking it down.
Right.
And that's where the productivity comes into play.
Yeah.
The second part to answer that question is to be productive. First, you've got to be clear with yourself, right? So know your joy, you can set your goals. But then to take it to the next level, you need
Yeah.
you need help. And so one of the other parts of my workshop is charting out who do you need to help you.
Yeah.
Right? In the networking workshop, we have an entire arc of the 5 different types of people you need in your network. Right. And I got really pumped writing this part of the book. I'm not going to lie. I dug deep and really looked at my clients, my own life, and there's different types of people that you need in the different areas of your life.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. And we can't be all things to all people, which is why we need a tribe, right? We need a village of people around us to make things happen.
Exactly. Well, and that's why I started making these Joy Squad stickers.
Love it. Oh my gosh, I love a good sticker. I am all for
I'm going to send you one then.
Oh, I can't
I'll
wait.
mail you a sticker.
So your joy squad are your people, right? Like those are the people that help make things happen. Well, Bossy, you, first of all, you're a light. You radiate the joy that you are teaching others to have. And I am so pleased that you are doing this in the corporate space. We are as well, because I know what it does to the bottom line. You know what it does to the bottom line. How do you convince the organizations that you work with that this joy will affect their bottom line?
Right. So this is the other thing, Christy. I come from big corporate, right? So before I had my own company, I did corporate philanthropy at Boeing, Salesforce, and JP Morgan.
Nice.
And so, which is like, what? Like, how did this, girl from Chicago or girl from Oklahoma come to Chicago and become this like super corporate woman? But it's like, I love strategy and I love understanding humans. So when I'm talking to companies, I'm not just talking from inexperience. I'm talking from deep experience. I did employee engagement at Boeing during the MAX crisis. I did it at Salesforce during the pandemic when we were, work from home. And then at JP Morgan, we were trying to figure out like, okay, we're coming back. And all of that, I led strategies for engaging employees in community. So that's volunteerism. There were a lot of shifts. And I say all that to say, in my work now, I bring that to the table and those innovative ideas that I share with my clients, but I also come with data. So I'm big on surveying. There's not a single client that I've worked with that I haven't surveyed their team, because I want to know what's working. And I also want to know what's not working, because I believe that I'm continuously growing and that we all are, and I embrace it. And it actually brings me joy.
Yeah.
So I actually met with a client this week and I told him, I said, hey, I've been doing some learning and I know this is what we did last year, but I want to switch things up, but I want to hear what you think. And I showed them 2 different icebreakers. They were immediately like the new one, because more engaging, it tied better to the content that I'd be sharing. And so with my clients, like you were saying, how do I get them excited about this and how do I get them on board? It's because I'm literally bringing them on the journey.
Yeah.
It's not the silo, it's a partnership.
I was going to say, you're doing alongside instead of unto, right? When we do unto people, we make a lot of assumptions, and those are never a good idea. My senior English teacher taught me that makes an ASS out of you and me. So we do not assume. We instead use data to drive what we're doing. I know that's what we do at the intentionality group as well, is where we have actually a survey about the wellness of the human as an individual and as a team, so that you can say, all right, all of our Gen Zers are struggling with this, and all of our, Gen Xers are struggling with this. Or it could be by department, and it can be because the reality is what HR needs and what, sales need, not exactly the same, but joy is universal. So once you figure out within your bubble, which I love, once you put the right things in your joy bubble, then really great things can happen. I love that you're doing that with people. That's awesome.
Thank you. And I love, okay, what you just brought up about the different departments and what you're bringing in. Oh, look, the sun is setting.
It is. Oh, hello. It's like
I
it's
know,
just came over you.
yeah, I'm very blessed to be right by a west-facing window. I just never know what's gonna happen. Um, but what you were talking about, the different methodologies that you bring in, I think that's beautiful. And it made me think of when I'm talking to leaders, we start talking about what I call the joy blueprint.
Mm.
And instead of just rewarding people with what you think they will find rewarding, going through an exercise with the team where they list out, this is how I like to be recognized, or I'm a morning person, not an afternoon person.
Yeah.
And so I think you probably have something similar.
I do. Oh, yeah. Well, and that's why I knew we were going to be friends, Bossy, because we both are on the same journey to help people take care of their humans first, right? When you take care of your humans first, Boeing can build better planes. And, it is, and yet when you deal in corporate America, you frequently end up with the age-old adage of this is the way we've always done it, right?
Yeah.
Or we don't have time for that fluffy stuff, right? Like the woo-woo. We're not going to do the woo-woo. But the woo-woo, if you will, have you ever done the Clifton Strengths Finder?
Why is that my favorite? I'm a woo.
I'm a woo too. So yeah, there's no surprise there. But woo is winning others over, right? Like that. I like to say that that's really the woo that I bring to the table, not the woo-woo that we're thinking about. But all of that said to say, you are just plain fun. And I am so appreciative that our paths crossed. We have to thank Quasi for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you that listened to Quasi Johnson's episode, that is his last name, right? Did I just make that up? No.
It
is. Well, Quasi's hard to remember, hard to forget anyway. Right. He introduced the two of us because he said you guys would totally hit it off. And he was right.
sure.
For sure. And then one other shout out because it's relevant. My friend Travis introduced me to Quasi. So all of this is a very cool full circle moment that I would say I would put in my joy bubble, right? When I am able to connect people with other humans who are in need of what they have, right? And I think we all need what you have. That's productive joy to me. And so this gets to be a productive joy moment for me. How cool is that?
That is, it's just, you got me in my feelings. That is so special. And it also reminds me, I literally just wrote Quasi yesterday to say thank you for introducing me to someone. And now I get to write him another thank you.
See, you know what? There, that is a lost art, is the writing of a good thank you note. So well done to that as well.
Well, I love a thank you note. I just love, I also, oh, it's not sitting right there. I thought it was. I spoke at a keynote last year and they sent me a key, a hot pink key, because they know I love pink. They sent me a hot pink key that said joyful.
Stunning.
No, they had a custom key made, and I was like, this is the best
Best thing ever. Well, I do have, and I'll flash them quick, but these are thank you notes to have been on my podcast, and you'll notice they have scratch and sniff stickers on the back because that's my thing. I have been giving scratch and sniff stickers to adults for the last 19 years, and so that's kind of my calling card.
I love it. So I have to send you the sticker, and I'm going to get yours.
Yes, 100%.
We're going to have more joy moments.
I love that. Well, I think I could talk to you all day. I have one more question before we do our rapid fire. So growing up with the name Bossy, I'm going to guess, created some opportunities for you. It's spelled B-O-S-E for those of you that are listening and not looking. But tell me a fun story around your name. It could be how you got your name or something that happened because of it.
So this is a hard question. So my name is a traditional Yoruba name. I am half Nigerian, half Black American. And so there's been so much.
I can't imagine anything else to be true.
Hard to narrow it down. But I will say it's meant that I never got to have a nickname. And, there are some things when you're a kid that you just want. Like everybody's getting a fun nickname, but I never got one. And I have a business coach right now. And he's great. He's like very business. He's had multiple businesses himself, but he also played in the NFL. And he has given me my first nickname. And when we get on the phone for him to coach me, he's like, "Okay, B, what's going on with the business?" And I'm like, "Who's B?" And I'm like, "B. Please, for 40 years, I get to be in the nickname club."
My gosh, I love that. But that, you know what? That's special. Names are special, right? And they matter so much. But it does take something really special when somebody gives you a nickname. There's really only been two people in my life who have ever called me Chris. Always been Christy. One of them was my brother's girlfriend in high school, right? And my brother's 12 years older than me, so he was in high school and I was in kindergarten, and she called me Chris. And then a man I used to work with gave everyone he liked a nickname, and he called me Chris too. So the good news is he liked me. The even more interesting news is that I fully relate to your nickname story, because Christy is a nickname, but it's not. Like, that's my full name. So yeah, I get it.
No, that's right. Well, and that's why I say, like, I think he does it because, like, he's a football guy, but
Football
to me,
guys
it's
usually have a
like,
name. Yes.
right. He's like, "Hey, B," and I'm like, and I just like realized, like, he's been my business coach for a while, and I was like, "Oh, you played in the NFL?" I'm like, "I don't really know what that is. I don't know sports." I'm like, that means nothing to me, but it's related to the nickname because I think that's why he was so just like calling her B, like, and
Love
it's
it. Well, be bossy. Whatever we're gonna call you. We're gonna call you bossy. That's your name. But I have some rapid fire questions for you, because
here we go.
I think you and I could just keep talking, but I do realize that at some point people are going to turn us off, and we don't want that. So, your first question: what is your definition of fun?
My definition of fun is anything that makes the corners of your mouth turn up to your eyes instead of turning down towards your toes.
Love
Mhm.
it.
Turned up.
Amen to that. Okay, how do you know that you're showing up as your authentic self?
It's like I could answer this question the same way I answered the last one. It's a feeling in your heart. So when you are showing up your authentic self, you don't feel like you want to go home.
Mm. Yeah, because you're exactly where you belong. Ah, that's good. How do you channel your best self on your worst days?
Talked about this a little. I go over to my joy bubble and I've got to pull something out. Outside of that, I will go for a walk, a run. I will do some yoga, either in my apartment by myself, focus on my breath work. If it's really bad, I'll start journaling.
Rue. Well, does it happen more for you in the winter than it does in the seasons where you can be outside? Because it's clear to me that you need fresh air.
I I know, and that is what makes Chicago a little bit difficult, but I have learned it. We really do have, they call it SAD, seasonal
Yeah.
effectiveness.
Okay. Oh, it's a real thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, you can just
So
come visit me in Florida when it gets cold, and because we don't do that. We don't believe in ice cold. No, thank you. Okay, before I ask my last question, I need to make sure that everybody on this call can find you. So, what's the best way for people to find you?
Oh, easy. Go to my website. My company is called Goal and Grind, right? Because we're setting big goals, we're grinding them out one step at a time. So if you just go to goalandgrind.com, fully spelled out, I'm there. I'm also on Instagram and on LinkedIn. I'm more on LinkedIn because I'm a professional woman and that's where I've spent my time. But on all the platforms, I'm at Goal and Grind. And yes, if you want to stay up to date with my book, sign up for my email newsletter. And that's also available on my website. And Chrissy, I'll give you a link so that it's easy to show. But it's coming out in 2026 and it's going to be exciting.
Gonna be
We're-
wonderful. Well, and 2026 is right around the corner, so here we go. We're excited to see it.
I can't believe it.
Okay, last question, tough question. Of all the brilliant things that you said today, people are really going to latch on to one. So, what's the one thing you really want people to remember today?
I want them to remember that they deserve joy, they are worthy of joy, and they can claim and reclaim their joy at any time, no matter how hard it is. It's been hard for me too sometimes, but we dig deep, surround ourselves with those that we love and that love us, and we can reclaim it.
That love us part is a really important part. So, friends that are listening, I hope that you are paying attention. I hope that you recognize that joy isn't fleeting, it's a choice. And when we choose joy, we will find more and more of it. It's amazing when you start looking for something, how apparent it becomes. And when you forget to look for it, it disappears. So, thank you for your brilliance. Thank you for sharing your brilliance. We all benefited from you today.
Well, and I just feel honored. I thank you so much, Christy. I thank you for taking Quasey's introduction and saying, yes, let's do this, because this has truly been a joyful moment for me. I got to be on the other side of the US with you today.
You sure did. And friends, again, so many nuggets of wisdom. I hope that you will figure out what's in your joy bubble today and that you will take that bubble with you and remember that it's pretty easy to open and you can get those joyful moments anywhere you are doing anything you're doing. And today I challenge you to figure out a way to turn fun into action.